Welcome to Ideas, a time of conversation about all things board games. Community is built on conversations, and games are built on ideas.
Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy with a Chance of Meeples. Welcome to Ideas, and welcome to, I guess, the year 2024, starting a fresh year with fresh new ideas from a fellow Canadian, actually, me being in Central Canada. And today we're talking to Antoine Lefebvre. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did.
All
That's
right.
perfect.
Yeah. I guess being Canadian, I could just say sorry and try again, but maybe not.
Yeah, as long as you say sorry, hey,
Yeah,
you're fine.
exactly. So welcome to Ideas, a time where we just sit down and chat with designers, illustrators, publishers in the board game hobby and talk about how they got their thoughts and ideas from just ideas to the games that we love to play and that take up endless Kallax shelves in our houses. And so I believe that community is built on conversation, just like games are built on ideas. And so, Antoine, I just want to say welcome aboard. And I just want to jump right into it. This is all about board gaming. And obviously, you're a designer. But what got you into this hobby that we share?
Wow. Actually, it's pretty recent. I've started designing around 2018 only.
Wow.
So it's not even 5 years. Uh, the thing is, I played one game that I really enjoyed the central mechanism in it, which is Ulm,
Okay.
ULM. And that's the little grid with like 9 little squares, and you push, and then you activate those 3 actions. That was really clever in my mind. So I wanted to do something that's better because I thought back then that was kind of bland, kind of not really exciting, and way too long for what it is. But
Hmm.
I really, really like this little mechanic. So I wanted to create something with that. So this was the start of everything for me. So all the designing was that. So after that, I actually did one prototype with that mechanism, and it was awful. It was just awful. But what I've heard from other designers is that your first game is like it's like pancakes. So the first pancake is not really good. Normally you just throw away or you give to your kid or to the dog or something. So my first prototype was pretty much like a first pancake. It was not very good. Um, it's like I wanted to put everything in the same game. Like I was not gonna make
Hmm.
any other game after that.
Hmm. So,
So that was a big mistake. But uh, yeah, fellow designer actually, which is Gabe Barrett from Board Game Design Lab podcast, if you know him.
okay.
Um, he actually called me after a contest, a design contest,
Hmm.
and we talked for about an hour. And he took the time to tell me what what to check out, what how to progress in the design. And that was probably the moment that was the pivotal moment in my designing career, which is actually very, very young.
Hmm.
But that was what triggered something. Um, I think that he took the time to help me and to give me some counsels, and that was really something that was meaningful to me.
Hmm.
So that game actually was completely trashed, by the way.
Wow. So I just want to back it up for a bit. Did you
Um, but you are talking about this one?
Yeah, we'll get into Romi Rami shortly, but did you play games as a kid? Like before you got into the design work, did you play games growing up?
Oh, actually, a lot. I grew up in a family. Well, actually, it's mostly my grandparents. My mother actually didn't like playing at all. She was a boring person. Um, but but I mean, my grandmother was a card player, and she was actually keeping me in her house when I was 4 years old.
Okay.
And the first thing I did when I got into her house is I took out the cards. So
Okay.
I took the deck of cards and we just dealt cards and we played some little small games that a 4-year-old can understand. But I was hooked. I really wanted more of those little card games, and that was probably what clicked in the first place. I was someone really that was in my mind. I was really in a bubble. I'm still a bit like that. I'm someone who's really very rational, very enclosed in my own thoughts. So, but that as a kid was really something that helped me grow up and actually make some social contacts also, because that's what
Mm,
games are about at
yeah.
first.
Yeah. So as you grew up, you say you started playing games as young as 4. Did you have a favorite game? Like, let's get into like maybe your teen years. Did you still play games at that point? Did you have a favorite game and into your 20s and so on and so forth?
Yeah, well, after that, we played some games like Racco and the Rummy and those type of games. When I got a bit older, like 7 or 8, we played the Dungeons and Dragons with my father,
Hmm.
who was making the Dungeon Master and, well, changing the rules just to make sure we didn't die. But the important thing was having fun
Right.
with my father. So
Yeah.
that's good memories. But after that, we got the game was called Survive. Um,
Hmm.
it still exists today.
Yep.
Actually, they got a 30th anniversary edition, and I got it after that because this was my childhood. This was a very good game for me in that time, and I think it's still good today. It still stands,
Hmm.
despite the fact it's I think 40 years old now.
Wow.
It's still a pretty good game because there's not really any dice in it. Well, actually, there's one die just to move the creatures around.
Hmm.
But what I like about this one is you have 3 action points to make your movements, and then you have to decide one tile to flip. So there's a lot of meaningful choices, and there's a lot of interaction in that game too, because you can be very mean to the other players. But this is one game that really I remember playing and loving.
Hmm.
And after that, there was also Talisman. That was a very dungeony fantasy game,
Hmm.
very random, but still we enjoyed it because of probably because of the randomness, actually.
What are you playing these
So
days?
those were the games actually. Yeah, what I play these days. I actually enjoy shorter games right now. So I used to enjoy medium to heavy Euro games, but I don't really play those anymore. I don't know why, but maybe it's because I had kids and wanted to tone down my games a bit. But now I prefer games that are around 45 minutes, an hour, kind of puzzly. I can talk about Cascadia or Calico,
Hmm.
or you have Byron Park behind you, I see. So
Yeah.
this is a type of game that I really, really, really enjoy because it's not too heavy, but you have some very meaningful decisions in it, and you can really build your own little thing.
Hmm.
Um, the games I enjoy don't need to have that much interaction. Um, but if it does, I still like it too.
Hmm. That's kind of like my sweet spot. My sweet spot, 30 to 60 minutes. And maybe it's because I'm a little bit ADD at times. I don't have the super long attention span, which is ironic because I have Everdell, and some would say, well, that's a big, heavy, long game. And yeah, Everdell for me it just clicks. But for the most part, my style is kind of that, kind of like where you're at 45, 30 to 60 minutes, and just get your brain going and get that whatever puzzly nature. Obviously Barron Park and and Sagrada and whatnot. And so um that's what I love. And I guess we kind of have similar tastes in that regard. But yeah, let's talk about your game, Romi Rami. And I will say that was my favorite game that I that in 2023. That was my favorite game. And I haven't played tons of new games that came out in 2023. But there's just something that clicked for me with that game. And
Wow,
maybe,
I'll take that as a that's really nice of you to say that.
and yeah, like the first time I saw it, like to me, even the less is more artwork, that like just jumped out at me because it just looks elegant, and it looks just like a classic card game, but with like a new twist on it. So let's talk about Romi Rami a bit. You say you've only been designing for 5 years, and this wasn't your first design. So when did you actually start designing Romi Rami?
Um, this one I actually started, I think at the end of 2018. So this was actually my second project.
Okay.
At the beginning, it was not called Romi Rami at all. It was called Picker Poker, and it was mostly based on poker hands.
Okay.
So you did not have those objective cards on the table. You just had to make poker hands. So you actually drafted cards in a similar way that it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But what you had to do is either you always had to make like 5 cards, and it had to match any poker combination. But the thing is that those poker combinations are very static. So it's always going to be the same thing. So every game was samey.
Mm.
So we had to add a market of these objectives to make sure that they were changing every time, or else you're gonna have always the same game and the same strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with this market, and then the problem was with 5 cards. It was not really intuitive to actually need 5 cards in your hand to make a combination of 2 pairs,
Mm.
let's say. People would just play 4 cards. I'd say, no, 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 it's 5 cards, like in poker. So we ditched that out completely, and then we made completely new objectives with straights and pairs and everything. So that actually came out afterwards. The actually the publisher asked me to make a couple changes because at the start the drafting was done in reverse. Instead of having to draft 3 cards, 1, 2, 3 cards of the same color or same number, it was the other way around. You had to draft 3 cards that had nothing in common,
Hmm.
which was really not intuitive for most players. So we just switched it around, and it became a lot cleaner and faster to play also. So we could actually reduce the market of those value cards while doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having 8 cards, we could shrink down to 6, and it was perfect. So that was less um, AP prone, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one change that was done. Also, there were jokers before directly inside the deck, but those were also removed.
Hmm.
So, and at the end completely, the publisher said, "Why don't we have just one joker each?" And that was the last thing, like a last minute add-on, and it's actually very neat that way because when they were cards inside the deck, it would actually make some rules exceptions and what if, and so we decided to remove them completely because it was not very clean rules wise. So that's one of the last thing that was removed. But beside of that, I can give my my tip my hat to the publisher for the visual. The visuals are actually, as you said, it's a classic look, and that's what they wanted to actually get. They wanted a game that that felt like a classic game but modernized,
Mm.
and actually that felt right in.
Yeah, like I love it, and I love the Joker, and I just actually played with my daughter. She's 7, and so I love it that you can. It's not in the rules, but you can play with younger kids. You just don't take a Joker tile and you give younger kids 2 Joker tiles, which that's what she had. She had 2 Joker tiles. I had 1, so it gave her a little bit more flexibility. And again, it's not in the rules, but I think the concept of the game is, oh, I need, 5 numbers in a row. How can I get that? So you can play with, says 8 plus on the box, but I think you can play. Obviously, I clearly am playing with someone that's younger than 8. And it just it just leans itself to that ease of play where you can play with many generations.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that the publisher wanted also. It's a multi-generational game. You can play with grandparents, which are card players. You can play with kids. And the thing is, I also wanted to make a game that brought everyone together. I actually found out by making some activities at my kids' school. I brought games and played with the kids, and I found out that no kid actually knows what a deck of card is.
Hmm.
It's like something new for them. They know all the video games and they know some modern games, but those decks of cards are actually something almost strange to them because
Wow.
there's no rules, there's nothing. It's so I was like, okay, if can I do something that actually will bring those card players that are older than us and the young ones? I think actually I kind of managed to do that.
Hmm. So you said that some of the design, sorry, not the design, the look of it, that was kind of from the publisher. So how was that? Being a first-time publisher, or sorry, first-time designer, how was that going to whether it was just a convention or wherever you did that pitch, how was that? Was that nerve-wracking, or like did you know somebody, I guess, at Randolph, or how was that experience for you as a designer to be?
Actually, I was very lucky because I knew someone at Randolph. Actually, it's another designer, which is Thomas Desgenais-Espérance. So he's actually the designer of Decrypto,
Hmm.
if you know that game.
I got it down there. I
So
can't
he's
see it.
actually a friend of mine,
Okay. Nice.
and he was working at that time with Miller Zoo, the
Hmm.
other game that he did with Randolph.
Hmm.
And he actually heard in the background when he was working that they were looking for a small card game,
Hmm.
which was really something like international and very general, so everyone could play. So it's not something like a mass market game, but close to that. So, and he was actually in my playtesting group. So he actually, when he tried my game, he said, "Hey, I heard that Randolph is looking for for a small card game. Maybe you should pitch to them." So I actually did the pitch through email. So it
Hmm.
was not really nerve-wracking because it was not in person.
Right.
Some designers actually prefer in person. Some publishers also prefer that, but you cannot always do it via email. But the chances are not as good to be picked as if you do it in person.
Right.
But that was really my luck actually. So, and I said to the to Randolph, to Joel, I'm pitching my game to you and you alone. I'm not going to pitch it to anyone else until you tell me if you want it or not.
Hmm.
So I was really clear from the start, and
Mm-hmm.
I said, I know it fits your catalog, it fits your mentality. So if you want it, you have the first choice. And they really, really appreciated that. So and so they tried it really thoroughly. And a couple months later, they just contacted me, uh, and I went actually to their offices and we tried it live. We discussed a bit, and it took about 2, 3 months after before they signed it. It took a while because they just wanted to see if I was gonna give what they want. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
when you're a first-time designer, you don't have any background. That's
Right.
the hardest thing, I think, is I keep telling other designers that if you want to be signed, actually the publisher signs you and your game, not just your game.
Mm.
You have to prove that you can make changes and that you're willing to make those changes if they
Mm.
ask for them. If
Right.
you're really you don't want to make any changes and say no, that's my baby, you're not touching it, you're probably not gonna get very far, unfortunately. You have sometimes to let go of some things.
Mm.
And so that's why the publishers normally want to know who they're dealing with. So I just proved myself by doing some hard work, making those changes and testing everything. And I think that really clicked.
Hmm. So moving forward, now that Romi Rami's getting some buzz and it's in stores and whatnot, what's next for you? What are you working on? How many games are you working on?
What's next? Actually, that year, that was 2021, I signed a Romi Rami. I, I actually signed two other games before that in the same year, um, but they did not come out yet. So
Okay.
the next one is called Arturus Rex. It is a roll and write, which is kind of feels like a so clever, but much simpler
Okay.
and actually simultaneous and asymmetric. So it's something I wanted to do because I thought that So Clever was way too long for what it was, and it was very luck based because depending since the players don't use the same dice, it can be very, very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to do something like that, and I really enjoy the Arthurian legends, so King Arthur and
Mm-hmm.
the Excalibur and everything. So I went with that thematic, and it's actually coming out this, I think, in March, next March,
Okay.
through a small publisher here in Quebec, which is actually also now my company.
Oh, nice.
So we're a couple partners. I was not in the business at that time,
Mm-hmm.
but I joined their team since, and actually it's called the Locomuse Studio. It's a very small publisher. This is going to be our first project,
Okay.
and it's coming out in French and English for the Canadian market for now. And we're actually looking for partners either in the US or in Europe also to take this game.
Sweet.
It's
So
a
go ahead.
it's a compilation of three games in one box, I must say. So three different designers and all from Quebec. And we wanted to do something that was very local, but to export kind of like the talent of the Quebec designers.
Hmm. So is it coming to Kickstarter or is this going straight to retail or how's that working?
It's straight to retail because the good thing is that Locomu Studio, we are also a company that does some on-demand design and development for companies. So
Okay.
a company calls us and say, okay, we want a game that does exactly this objective. So, and then we come out with ideas and we pitch them, and actually we We create the game, we develop the game, and we also make the production. So we offer that service, which helped us actually make some cash flows and some down payments for our productions. So now we can start making our own games without having to go to Kickstarter. Because Kickstarter is a whole different beast. That's that's not something that I would enjoy personally.
Right.
So right now we have already the problem of doing the rule books and the graphic design and everything, which is already something we have to learn. So learning how to do a Kickstarter campaign was way too much for us.
Okay, so you said the company name, and obviously it's a French company, and pardon my, I'm not fluent in French. So tell me again what your new company is called.
It's called Loco Muse.
Local Muse,
Loco, Loco Muse.
Muse.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone wants to know more about this game that's coming out in March, do you have a website, or where can they find more of your work in that regard? Like, how can they follow this journey that you're on, that you're going to be presenting? I guess just to Canadians, but hopefully abroad.
Yeah, we're actually going in France at Cannes Festival in February. So we're trying to get a partner in Europe for that. But to reach us, actually, we use mostly our Facebook page. We do have a website for that, the service part of the company. But for our own games, it's mostly through Facebook that we do our promotion. What we're also going to be doing is we're going to localize some small Asian card games. I am a huge fan of small box games. If you know Scout, this is one example that so games of that weight and that style. So either some trick-taking games or some card shedding games. These are really something we really enjoy. So we're trying to pick up some hidden gems that come from Japan. We have a game from Singapore. We have one from Japan that are already signed, and we're looking at two other ones from Japan right now. So this is something else we're trying to do, is bring those games to the North American and European markets, because we believe that these games are very different from what we're used to see. And we see more and more of these small Japanese games come to North America. And actually, people are discovering those games. But Japanese have been playing those for years and years and years. So I think it's something that's worth discovering, really.
It's so cool because you have like specific games. As we wrap up here, you have such specific games that are like, oh, that's very like you can see it's got like a European design, or you have like games that are kind of like American, and it's like, like whatever, like you have the Euro game, and you have like the American style games, and now you're starting to see more of these games from, like you said, Japan and Singapore and other countries, like Korean games and stuff like that. They're making their way, and they're just a different type of design, and it just speaks wonders to this hobby, that it's so vast. It brings people to the table from all sorts of backgrounds, different ethnicities and all that stuff. And it's just so cool how even different cultures create games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and actually, the Japanese games have really their own identity, because I think that Japan was such a closed market for the hobby that they were not really influenced by outside games coming from Europe or America. So they have really their own thing. And we're actually just discovering them right now. But the thing is, they're still at the moment they're still experimenting, they're still trying stuff. And that's why you see games like Nirvana, which is a mix of roll and write with a card shedding game, which sounds really weird, but
Mhm.
works very well. So this is something that I really like about these games, and it's that they're still trying stuff.
Hmm.
They're not like these, let's say, those Euro games that they all almost look alike, but that have that little small tweak, but not so much that it's too different from the other ones, and they almost all feel samey in the end. So they have all their their identity themselves. So
Mhm.
that's what I really enjoy of those games.
Right on. Well, I'm excited to see and see more stuff from you guys, and then even as your company grows, I'm excited for you and your business partners as you venture off into this new great unknown. It's maybe not a great unknown, but like you said, you guys are just starting a publishing company, so you're learning all these new things. So I will get that a link to your website and all that stuff in the description of this video. So for folks that want to know more about your games and the games that you're going to be bringing, hopefully globally, they can check those out. And so I just
I
want
want to
to
mention
go ahead.
my last game that actually will come out in 2025, which is with Talent Strike Studios. It's a small indie publisher that is in New York. Just a shout out to Eric Alvarado, which is the guy from that design company. Um, it's going to be a game called Old Time Candy Shop, and
Okay.
it's going to be something like if people like Segredo will actually really enjoy that game. It has that same mechanism which you place dice in a grid,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't feel like a Sudoku. It feels more like an optimization puzzle. So
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about Calico and Cascadia. So you have kind of like that vibe, but with the Sagrada feeling mixed in. So this is going to come out in 2025, and you're going to have like 4 or 5 different modules in the box that you can add and remove. So it's like small extensions directly in the game box.
Right on. Well, perfect. I'm looking forward to that. And so, like I said, I'll post a link to all that in the description of this video. If you want to know more about Cloudy with the Chance of Meeples, check us out on Facebook, Cloudy with the Chance of Meeples. Till next time, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to grab your umbrella because the forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.